I'm Edwin Warfield, the publisher of City Biz, and I'm honored today to interview Stephen Willard, who is the CEO of NRx Pharmaceuticals. Welcome, Stephen.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
In July of this year, you were appointed CEO of NRx Pharmaceuticals. Tell us about your background and what led you to NRx.
Sure. My background is Williams College, Yale Law School, practiced law in London, New York, and Washington, D.C., was a senior government official. And about 27 years ago, I got into pharmaceuticals and ran a large public company called Flamel Technologies, which is now called Avadel, and ran that for 8 years. And then I built a company called Cellphire, which is a company that creates stabilized platelets. I was contacted by one of the major recruiting companies about this opportunity. And what captivated me was the opportunity to deal with what I think is a huge unmet medical need, which is suicide in bipolar patients. There's nothing for bipolar patients that isn't a suicide risk. And we have a drug that not only will deal with depression without increasing suicidality, but may actually be a benefit to improve and reduce the amount of suicidality.
So, Stephen, what has your role been in government leadership, and how has that prepared you for leading your company?
Thank you for asking. I have been blessed by two opportunities to serve in government. The first was I was associate director of the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, handling the troubled banks about 7 years after the savings and loan crisis. And my colleagues and I resolved 634 banks without a penny of taxpayer money. It taught me to be creative and to do deals that hadn't been done before. And that's directly relevant to what I'm doing with NRx, is trying to come up with things that are new and novel. The other government opportunity is one I still have, which is I'm on the board of the National Science Foundation, which gives out about $8.5 billion a year worth of grants for science. And I'm the chairman of the Oversight Committee, which gives me an appreciation of the detail necessary in making a well-run organization of large size.
I think we were all traumatized by the closeness between the death of Kate Spade and Anthony Bourdain, who committed suicide within about 3 days of each other. Can you give us an idea of the magnitude of the problem that you're trying to address?
Sure. There are about 7 million people in the United States who have bipolar disorder. With regard to suicide, one person tries to commit suicide every 27 seconds. With regard to bipolar people, if you know 2 bipolar people, one of them is likely to attempt suicide. And if you know 5 bipolar people, one is likely to succeed. It's a huge problem. Again, about 7 million people, 10% of them are suicidal. That breaks down to about 180,000 who are acutely suicidal, meaning they're actively seeking to take their lives, and another 500,000 who are subacute suicidality, which means they are thinking about suicide, but they are under the care of their doctor.
And so can you quantify the opportunity?
Well, I think the opportunity would be, first and foremost, to treat patients who have suicidal ideations, and that's the 700,000 who are actively in one of those two categories. Then that's about a $2.2 billion a year market. And then we can expand to other indications where suicidality is a problem, where drugs, your SSRIs, all of your drugs taken for depression, have black box warnings saying that they increase suicidality. After we take on the $2.2 billion of market share for bipolar with suicidality, it would be a logical thing to expand that out.
And where are you in your clinical trials, and when do you expect readouts?
We have 2 clinical trials going on. One is for acute suicidality. That has breakthrough therapy status from the FDA. They gave us a special protocol agreement, so we have a close relationship with the FDA. It's going to be about 70 patients. It's starting now, and we expect the results of that by the third quarter of next year. Then with regard to subacute, which is people under the care of their doctor, we have a phase 2 that is well in hand, and we expect results to read out in the first quarter of next year.
And can you share how the drug actually works and what's next for the drug?
Sure. The drug is a combination of 2 drugs. One is an NMDA inhibitor called D-cycloserine, and the other is an SSRI called lurasidone. And D-cycloserine is known to be a potent antidepressant, but it creates hallucinations and other neurotoxicity. Similarly, lurasidone, as an SSRI, has the powerful antidepressive effects, but it creates akathisia, which is why it has a black box warning. Well, it turns out we discovered, and we have a patent on the combination of the 2, and it turns out that the elements of the NMDA eliminate akathisia in the body created by the lurasidone, and the lurasidone in turn limits the hallucinations and neurotoxicity of the NMDA. So it's a very synergistic combination of drugs.
And it appears you're exploring PTSD as a potential treatment plan. Tell us about your plans for that.
Sure. Yeah, we have 90 patents and patent applications, 47 granted patents. I mentioned that with regard to the composition of matter patent a moment ago. We also have patents with regard to PTSD in 2 important areas. One, there are only 2 approved antidepressives for PTSD, and they both have black box warnings. And so providing a reduction in suicidal ideation could be important. There are 9 million to 12 million people with PTSD. About 10% of that group is suicidal, and that's a market of $5 billion or more. Not only do we help with the depression, but we seem to have, based on animal models, some success with NRx 101 in terms of dealing with what they call fear memory. If you have an event such as an improvised explosive device or a school shooting or something like that, it creates a high flight or fight mechanism in your body. And then over time, something like a sound or a particular light can cause you to go back to that original fear and have incredible trauma, as if you were experiencing what happened many years ago once again. There's preliminary indications that we may be able to limit the fear mechanisms.
And so how would you summarize where your strengths are as a company?
I think we're in a very strong position. We have 2 clinical trials that will be reading out with regard to information in the coming year. If we are successful, which we expect to be with our phase 3, we could be on the market in 2024 with a product. We have a strong patent position and the ability to go after additional indications, including PTSD. We've got a nimble team that's worked together for many years, and I think our future is bright.
Well, Stephen, you are doing important work, and we wish you the best of luck moving forward. And keep us abreast of as you move through your machinations and reaching the market. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.